Valley Talk on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
And this is Valley Talk. I'm Dave Adams. Glad to have you with us on this Thursday, and it is the second Thursday of the month, and that means it is time for Skin Talk. Glad to have you with us today. All things dermatological we're going to talk about today. Dr. John Young, Dr. Corey Mon, and Dr. Brandon Marcus in the studio from Silver Falls Dermatology. So,
good morning, everyone.
John, Corey, and Brandon.
That's right.
Roundtable discussion. Glad to have you with us today. So, what are we talking about today? We're talking about something called Ultherapy.
Yeah. So
what's that about?
There's some new technology. Today's trend in facial rejuvenation and in body rejuvenation is to go about things without getting surgery. That way you can go in and get something done that gives you an immediate lift one way or another, and then you can go back to work. So you don't have to be down and out for a couple weeks and take time off of work and worry about who's picking up the kids and all the things that all of us normally have to do. So
that saves money all the way around.
Yeah, and they tend to be cheaper procedures than getting surgery, safer, and they can often be close to the same effect as surgery, although surgery will always be a little superior to them. But you can often get a lot out of even a 1-hour treatment. And so, in the realm of what's non-invasive that people normally get done to improve their look or their skin, it could be everything from creams, which can often stimulate collagen and help wrinkles and brown spots, to lasers, which can help provide immediate skin tightening or smoothing of the skin, help with acne scarring, to things that are deeper, like freezing the fat, such as something called cool sculpting, which we do, where we just chill the fat cold enough to where it fools it into thinking it has to die through a process called apoptosis. And this is all proved by some nice science work in pig models, and now it's been approved by the FDA, and it does work in humans, and you can often get a 20 to 25% reduction in the fat, like in your belly, like women who've had kids, or in love handles from that. And then now the trend is to move toward other things in other areas. So now they have not only lasers, which shoot light energy into the skin, but they have radio frequency devices which can tighten skin. And Thermage is one of the first things that came out for that years ago, fraught with some complications such as burning of the skin. But now there's a movement toward even better technology. So the newest thing on the market is something called Ultherapy, which is ultrasound. And so people are used to knowing kind of what ultrasounds are. If they go get a ultrasound of their baby, ultrasound of their liver or their gallbladder, it's a non-invasive test where you just put a little transducer on the skin and you can see deep inside of it. Well, what they've learned how to do is how to deliver energy with ultrasound deep into the skin, into the deeper layers, which can cause more extreme tightening and give you kind of like a facelift effect by tightening the deeper tissues. The problem with most energies is if you shoot them through the skin, they get absorbed by the skin, so they only go so far. So the effect you get may not be as deep or as thorough. The nice thing about ultrasound is you can tweak exactly where the energy is delivered without harming anything else around it. And so
you can target it.
You can target, exactly. You can target it, and the really cool thing about these therapies is that you could take the ultrasound transducer, and for instance, if you have a really sagging jowl along your jawline, you can maybe go deeper for that with the ultrasound device. And then maybe if you're up around the eyebrow and you want to get an eyebrow lift, particularly for people who have sagging eyebrows, which makes you look a little old and tired or even causes your eyelids to droop, we can target that with the ultrasound and lift up the whole eyebrow and even tighten up the eyelid with this.
That's amazing.
It's crazy. People aren't even aware of this. It's now been featured on national TV shows. It was in the Wall Street Journal the other day, and it's FDA approved, has good research behind it, and the company has the patent on several of these applications. And so the thing that's even crazier than just tightening a face is you can use this technology to get a breast lift or to help with those flabby arms. You can tighten those up with this ultrasound technology. So it's a pretty amazing breakthrough.
So it tightens the skin up. Let's say you have some underarm flab, and as you get older, things have a tendency to droop a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
So it actually it tightens the skin. So does it kill the skin there, or what exactly happens?
Yeah, so the ultrasound delivers little packets of energy that heat up the skin or the deep layers of the skin. And the trick with getting a tightening response is you want to almost scar someone, you want to almost hurt them. You have to injure things a little bit, and it fools the body into starting to build new collagen and remodel. And plus the heat causes things to tighten. So for instance, if you burn the skin, sometimes you'll notice the skin tighten in where you've burned it, because it causes that collagen to denature and pull in. So not only are you getting an immediate tightening by heating up that collagen and that deeper tissue, but you're also getting that injury which causes the skin to remodel itself. And when things remodel, they tighten.
Interesting. Is there pain involved when you're applying the ultrasound? Probably not.
It's moderately painful. And my wife is okay with us saying this, but we tried it out on her a week ago, and she was able to tolerate it just fine. And the really neat thing is that we saw her neckline immediately come up, her jaw was more well-defined, and she got an immediate brow lift off of it. So it took a few years off just within 1 hour. And the nice thing is that because of those microthermal zones of energy that are distributed and the injury that's there, you get continued remodeling for up to a year after. Usually it's within a few months, but the results continue up to a year.
So you have one treatment and then up to a year
just
later?
1 hour. 1 hour. It's pretty amazing when you look at what you can get out of just a quick hour treatment. You know.
So you used your wife as a guinea pig?
Oh, she volunteered.
Oh. So was she pleased with the results?
Yeah. In fact, she'll be swinging by the office today for you to see her. And
here at the studio while we're on the air?
She's going to make an appearance here. So maybe when we're actually live on the video feed on YouTube, she can show people.
What he's alluding to is something I was going to mention. We're actually video recording. In fact, we're video recording it right now as kind of a test. Maybe we'll even put today's, because of the content of the show, we might even put the video up on YouTube today, because we're talking about essentially a kind of a minor facelift in the jaw.
Yes.
And so people can see what we're talking about. We are going to start video recording Valley Talk. And after the show, you'll be able to go onto our website and actually be able to see who is in the studio and actually see them and actually hear the Valley Talk show again. You'll be able to hear the commercials and all the station imagers and so on and so forth, and see who was talking that morning on Valley Talk and listen to the show again. In the past, you could go on and listen to an MP3 file of the program, but now you're going to be able to actually go on and see a video file of the program. And in the future, we'll probably get it set up so that when you're listening to it on the radio, if you're near a computer, you might be able to go to your computer and watch Valley Talk live on your video phone or computer, as well as listen to it on the radio. So that's kind of something fun we're working with, and it's exciting. And we might even take today's test video, because we're talking about a facelift, so let people see what we're talking about.
You know, I might even let the other doctors here help perform the procedure and let them tell people how easy it is and how they thought it worked.
Who wants to go, Dr. Corey or Dr. Brandon? Brandon?
I can go ahead and talk. So,
Brandon Marcus.
While they were doing this demonstration and kind of showing us this new technology, I was in on the whole thing and got to see it. And, you know, I came off of doing 2 years of internal medicine, so I have a lot of experience with ultrasound, doing various procedures and that. And the thing that I was most impressed with this machine is, while, you know, we're tightening, it's actually the fascia deep down or between the muscle and the fat. You can actually, as you're doing the procedure, see on the ultrasound the various layers of the skin. You can see the layers of the fat, the muscle, and even down to the bone. And the neat thing about this is it's an added safety feature, because you can see exactly where you're targeting this burst of energy to make sure that you're giving it at the right place all the time, and along with doing the procedure. And one neat thing about that is, you know, as we're giving these bursts of energy, you could see the areas of fascia contract down, and as Dr. Young mentioned, you know, right after the procedure was done, we could see a noticeable difference with this procedure. So I thought that was very neat. And another interesting thing is, curiosity-wise, I wanted to see, you know, what it felt like. So they actually, you know, did the procedure on me.
How'd it feel?
A little bit.
Well, tingly a little bit?
It was a little bit tingly. It's almost like when your leg falls asleep and you feel a little bit pins and needles, but pain-wise, I would say very, very minimal. I was pretty impressed. And the ladies there mentioned that a lot of people, just need some ibuprofen beforehand, and pain's pretty minimal. It's definitely a tolerable procedure. So it wasn't too bad.
What part of the body did they do on you?
Just under the cheeks on me.
Oh, okay. So, all right. Didn't make your muscles bigger or anything like that.
I think Dr. Mon had the pleasure of shooting Dr. Marcus.
Right.
That's my one time I can inflict pain on him.
Was it fun?
Yeah.
Okay, good. You get points for honesty. So, Dr. Corey Mon, you actually performed the procedure on Dr. Brandon Marcus.
Yeah, did a few treatments.
Okay.
Pretty simple.
From your perspective.
It's easy to use. It's not as involved as what people imagine when they think about lifts, eyebrow lifts or face lifts. It's quite an extensive process when you have to do that surgically. So this was something where Dr. Marcus was just lying in the exam chair and, not more than just knowing how to use the instrumentation and the process behind it, but didn't take more than, a few seconds for each treatment. So pretty simple.
When did you do this? How long ago? How long have you had
last week?
How long have you had the equipment? It hasn't been long.
Well, it came in last week with the demonstration, and then we should get a machine of our own this next week sometime. The other thing to note is that historically, when people had these saggy eyebrows and wanted to get a lift there, you had to go in through an incision up in the scalp and tunnel down and do a lot of stitching, and so it's a bit more painful. There's a recovery, there's a scar line, you can hit a blood vessel, you can hit nerves with that, and we got a real nice lift. My wife's eyebrows immediately went straight up when we shot her with this equipment, and it was just amazing to think that just 10 seconds of treatment did what it might have taken an hour or two to get from a prior procedure.
And invasive surgery before.
Yeah. Now, I would assume that for people that have really bad problems and bad brows, surgery may often be more advisable. But for people who have some mild sagging or who don't want to go through surgery, or even who aren't surgical candidates, for instance, a lot of people have pacemakers and have medical problems or on a lot of drugs, and don't want to go through surgery, or it's not safe. These things are very safe, and there's really no risk if it's done by someone that knows how to operate the equipment.
Or they might be older and just for various reasons not be a good candidate for surgery.
Yeah. And the other weird thing about the equipment is you could say, well, if it lifts tissue on the face, where else does it lift? And it's been cleared by the FDA because they put the studies through for the face, but they're currently doing experiments or doing tests and studies on breasts. So now you can get a breast lift, and it looks like it's the real deal from this. So it's probably not, again, as much as a surgery, but you can get a breast lift, or like we said, tightening that underarm skin. And often with women who've had children, they might end up with a little pooch on the lower abdomen from the skin being stretched out. Mm-hmm. And so now there are two technologies that can help that. One is if they have fat there, you can freeze the fat, or you can liposuction the fat out. But often it's not always the fat that's the problem, it's the loose hangy skin. And so this is one thing that actually tightens that skin up. So depending upon what the need is, if it's a fat problem or if it's a skin looseness or laxity problem, we have two different types of technology now that can do that without having to get surgery, and both of them take about an hour each.
You currently have cool sculpting that's available now, correct? Mm-hmm, so the Ultherapy isn't available. When will that be available?
Probably within a week or two. The nice thing about this equipment is it's portable, so we'll be able to do it out of Corvallis and out of the Albany office, which will be more convenient, and then we'll also be able to have it at the main office in Salem and the other office in Woodburn. So cool sculpting is a bit of a bulkier machine, like a file cabinet size, so that doesn't transport as well. So that's just at one office. But the beauty is now we can just take this little ultrasound machine around and do more with it.
Where do you do cool sculpting at?
That's at the Salem office, which is in South Salem, which from the office we're at now in Albany, it's about 25 to 30 minutes, so it's really not that far. If people know where Costco is in Salem, it's kind of close to that. Easier to get to than like North Salem from here. And the address for that is 1430 South Commercial Street. So most people know where Commercial Street is. And then we love this office in Albany in the old library building on Waverly here right near the mall. I think it's worked out well, and I think we're finding a lot of skin cancer here. And we often have a lot of people come in looking for rejuvenation options as well. And one of the reasons for picking that topic today was that when the sun goes down, when the sun goes away and we get toward fall and winter, it's a nice time to do a lot of these procedures because people aren't out there vacationing, getting a lot of sun. And so a lot of the things we do, we like people to stay out of the sun with. The nice thing about this Ultherapy ultrasound machine is it doesn't matter if you get sun. But a lot of our treatments like chemical peels, lasers, and creams are going to be better if you're not getting a lot of sun on the skin.
So you get pretty busy in the winter and the fall time of year.
Yeah, a lot of people that we might see in the summer, we might have them hold until they fall or winter to get a procedure done. Even some of the medical procedures we do, like to help with skin cancer, precancers, or acne, we often will hold until the sun's not so intense.
Okay, we're talking about Ultherapy and cool sculpting and other things dermatological. Dr. John Young, Dr. Corey Mon, and Dr. Brandon Marcus with Silver Falls Dermatology. We're here on Skin Talk on KGAL. More on the show in just a moment.
Well, I like to see what the farmers brought from the fields around to the market lot. Seems every week it's a different crop down at the farmers market. Down at the farmers market, the best berries and cherries you've ever seen. Sweet corn, tomatoes, peaches and beans, and cider and pumpkins for Halloween. Down at the farmers market. Down at the farmers market.
The Corvallis Albany Farmers Markets are now open every Saturday in the City Hall parking lot at 4th and Ellsworth in downtown Albany and on the north end of the riverfront in downtown Corvallis. And every Wednesday from 9 a.m. till 1 p.m. Again at the north end of the riverfront in downtown Corvallis. Enjoy live music, a large variety of locally grown farm products, and for more info, log on to locallygrown.org.
At the farmers market, friends and neighbors gather round. At the farmers market, see what can be found. There's fruit from the orchards and produce from the ground. And you can meet the folks who grew it when the farmers come to town.
The Willamette Master Chorus presents the 2012-2013 season. There will be 6 performances of 3 different concerts. The season will highlight the theme, The French Connection, with music from France, as the chorus prepares for a concert tour in France during the summer of 2013. The Veterans Weekend Concert in Remembrance will feature Duraflay's Requiem, with additional music celebrating and honoring veterans and their families. Next up will be the festive holiday concert, Christmas Mass and Carols from France, with special guest performers. Then in February, the chorus is joined by several outstanding guest soloists. The Willamette Master Chorus is the Mid-Valley's premier choral ensemble, bringing you the finest in choral master works. As a season ticket holder, you receive a 10 to 15% discount. Pick up a brochure at Keith Sandberg's State Farm Insurance in downtown Albany, or the Willamette University Music Office, or link to their website from kgal.com or kshow.net. The Willamette Master Chorus, under the direction of Dr. Paul Clemmy.
Find yourself in the Old West at Kirk's Ferry Trading Post Restaurant and Bar in Brownsville. You are invited to check out their Taste of Home with a rustic Americana menu, cooked by the wood fire oven. You'll find sports on a large screen and a full bar to wet your whistle, along with Alexander Kirk's 1846 cabin inside to add to the historical ambiance. Open Thursday through Sunday. Head to Brownsville and find Kirk's right there on Highway 228. Call 541-466-5614 or visit kirksferry.com.
When you need the job done, you want the powerhouse of engineering, reliability, and value that is Kubota. And right now, during Kubota's 40-year strong celebration, you can get 0% APR financing on select new B-Series tractors with a premium diesel engine, mid-PTO, and hydrostatic transmission. Join the Kubota movement. Go to Kubota.com or see Lynn Benton Tractor in Silverton or Tangent. Kubota is 40 years strong, serving the American dream. And Lynn Benton Tractor is still doing business the American way.
Want to really know more? Just point, click, and learn from the Mid-Valley's best website, KGAL.com.
Back on Valley Talk, this is Skin Talk. We are talking to Dr. John Young, Dr. Corey Mon, Dr. Brandon Marcus, and the topic of discussion today is Ultherapy and cool sculpting and things to make you look just a little bit nicer. And Ultherapy is a new way of using ultrasound to tighten the skin, make it reform itself, and state of the art. Interesting stuff. Now, ultrasound, in the past I've used that for such things as blasting kidney stones, correct?
Yeah. So it has a well described past history of being used not only for diagnostic, but I would say therapeutic, modalities. And originally I got interested in following this when they were looking at ways to get fat removal or fat reduction. And that's how I got interested in cool sculpting, because the ultrasound technologies that blasted the fat in the abdomen were just way too painful. And they kind of liquefied it under the skin, and people needed to be knocked out to get that done. And so I was really interested to see when this company came out with a more targeted microburst of energy with their device, how tolerable it would be. And my wife tolerated it just fine, and thought it was definitely worthwhile. I think that most people would expect maybe some swelling, maybe even bruising in a small fraction of people, but she told me she could have gone right back to work the next hour or the next day without a problem. Just a little bit of tenderness, a little bit of mild pain, but she said no problem with doing anything that she would have had to do, work or otherwise. So pretty interesting versus a facelift where they can cut all around the ears and have to pull that whole piece of skin back and tighten the deeper layers with stitching, with a pretty gruesome recovery, and often kind of a pulled too tight look, a windblown look on the face before things settle out.
I've seen that. You've seen that sometimes on movie stars, I won't mention any names, that have had several facelifts. Their face looks like it's pulled tight.
Yeah.
It just doesn't look natural.
Yeah, so, if you want the LA pulled tight look, I don't know if Ultherapy would do it, but, for most of us that want to just look maybe 5 to 10 years younger, take a little bit of that sagging off. Some of us get really deep jowling right behind the chin, which whenever you blunt the angle of the jaw. So what you like to see, and what you'll notice if you look at younger people, is they have a more well-defined jawline. And with aging, often you lose that definition. And so if you look at some of the actors that are pretty famous and known as like sex symbols, if you look at their jaw, they have a really nice, what's considered masculine jaw. It's a well-defined jaw and neckline. And that's one of the things that the Ultherapy does, is tighten that area. And it's the only thing that I've seen that tightens it as well as it does there. And again, non-surgical, so pretty mind-boggling.
Also interested to see those same stars as they get older. They get a little bit jowly, especially.
Yeah.
The men have a tendency to get that more than the women, don't they?
Yeah.
Is it fat, or what happens?
Well, you get both fat and laxity, and that's a good point. And that the best candidate for Ultherapy is going to be someone who's just sagging. And most people with aging are going to get some sagging there, and going to get some benefit then from the Ultherapy, ultrasound targeted deep tissue therapy. But if it's purely a fat problem, then you probably want to do something more like a cool sculpting when they come out with the handpiece, or a liposuction to remove the fat. But I think the future will show that combinations of these different things will often be common, and people like us may offer packages depending upon what each person needs. If they have a little fat and a little looseness, then maybe targeting both would be a safe and nice way to go. And then we also have not only these are more permanent therapies, so when you kill fat, it's gone, and when you tighten skin, it's tighter, theoretically, for long term. But there are also things where you can inject the folds along the side of the mouth or wrinkles with Botox or filler, things like collagen type of products to give more bulk to the skin. But the thing about those is they often need to be repeated, every 3 months for Botox, every year sometimes for these fillers, these collagen fillers. Whereas the Ultherapy, the way I look at it is, if you're about 50, it might make you look 45 or 40. So if you look 45, then in 5 years you'll still look 5 years older, but instead of looking 55, you're going to look 50. And so I think that it pulls that clock back a bit, and anyone with a little age on their face and on their skin can understand that 5 years is a heck of a thing to get out of a 1 hour treatment.
Yes, it is. What causes the sagging? Is it, the old joke is gravity, gravity takes over as you get older. Is it the gravity, Dr. Corey Mon?
Well, that certainly plays part in this, but a lot of the part of aging is that you start to lose density of your tissue, you start to lose the elastic ability of your skin to rebound where it wants to be. And so that's where a lot of the sagging as we age comes from, is we just don't have those same components of our skin to hold it in place like it used to.
So the skin actually changes or ages, and it doesn't become as elastic, and it tends to droop.
Yeah, and things like the sun in particular are things that kind of speed up this process of the damaging of these elastic fibers and tissues. So that's why when we say that, photo protection or a good sunscreen and things like that, we often emphasize that on our talk shows, is important, because not only does it help prevent skin cancer, but it also reduces the risk of premature aging.
The way to think about age-related changes that people can relate to would be like a rubber band. If you keep stretching it over and over and over and over, it's eventually going to kind of stretch out and kind of not be as tight and be a little bit looser. And that's essentially what's happening, like Dr. Wan says, in these deeper tissues. But it kind of happens throughout the whole body, so from the skin down to the deeper tissues. And the deeper tissues have more of a rubber band effect with the fascia, like Dr. Marcus was talking about. And then the superficial elastic changes are really affected by sun. So if you look, for instance, at darker skinned people, they often look way younger at 70
yes, they do.
than the really ultra fair Caucasian people. And their skin often looks really nice, and it's often hard to tell if they're 70, 80, or 90 in some of these folks, whereas those of us that are much lighter than that age a lot harder, and it's just cumulative damage by the sun screwing with that elastic tissue and loosening it and causing it to denature under the skin. And so over and over, just being pounded by that energy without a lot of protection from the pigment in the skin causes that skin to loosen up and start to get ridgy and deeper lines.
So the darker the skin, the more that pigment actually protects the skin from sun damage.
Exactly. It's like an umbrella. It's like standing underneath a bigger and bigger umbrella.
So can Ultherapy actually help in the treatment of wrinkles?
So, an interesting thing about that is that my wife had a little scar on the face, and it had been there for years, and they hit it with the Ultherapy machine, and it's gone. I can't even see it. So I'm pretty amazed at that. So I haven't looked at the data specifically on scars with it, but I just saw something melt away that had been there for a while. So I would think that it would tighten up the wrinkles as well. And the nice thing is, like Dr. Marcus says, you can dial it in. You can dial it more superficially and deeper. So you can hit the deeper areas and the superficial parts that are all loose. And so you get a combination of lifts, whereas with a laser technology, you're only going to get the top part of the skin tighter. You're not going to get those deeper planes.
So it sounds like something else has been added to your toolbox. You have a laser treatment and cool therapy, and now you have Ultherapy, which is ultrasound.
Yeah, I've always liked technology. I was in the Air Force for many years, and I worked at a laser center with them, and I always thought technology was nice, because every few years there's just something new and revolutionary that comes out. And now with the trend toward these non-invasive techniques that we don't really have to hurt people with, it's just amazing. About 10 years ago, if you wanted to get kind of a facelift out of a laser, you had to go under general anesthesia and have your face lasered off with what's called a carbon dioxide laser. And we've done that before, and it works beautifully, but people would look like they were a burn victim for 2 to 4 weeks. I mean, it was really a nasty, nasty healing process. Definitely can't leave the house. All kinds of wound care, all kinds of oozing, crusting, risk of scarring, and nowadays we could just do the same thing or similar in about an hour.
Wow. How many years ago was that when you were doing the carbon dioxide?
That was about 10 years ago, and those were lasers that just basically cut off the top part of the skin. They just lasered it off. Since then, they've found that there were more complications, obviously, with that, and now they've micro-targeted that type of laser. So that type of laser now is still being used and works quite well, but instead of shooting one huge laser beam, it shoots a bunch of little pinprick types of beams, which is much safer. So there are still people around doing that, and it works quite nicely. My guess is it'll have a little more downtime than these newer procedures, but I think there's still a use for that.
One of the things we mentioned early on in the show, which I think is very important, is we're talking about healthcare. In numerous previous shows, we've talked about healthcare costs, reducing the cost of healthcare. The more and more outpatient, non-invasive procedures we do, the cheaper the procedure is generally. You don't need an anesthesiologist in this procedure, so it's cheaper all the way around.
Yeah, if you've ever had a joint replaced in the hospital and you get the bill, you'll be amazed at how expensive just the hospital stay is. And you look at all that they have to do. I mean, they have to pass all these federal standards. They have to keep everything clean. They have to keep a certain staff. They have to pass inspections. They have such a big infrastructure of cost there, and those costs don't get any cheaper. And then the other downside, Dr. Marcus could talk to this because he was in internal medicine for a while, is people get sick when they get in the hospital. Sometimes they'll get infections,
just from being
bacteria.
From being around sick people.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when people come into the hospital, I took care of people in the hospital for a number of years, and one of our goals in the hospital, aside from the expense, was to try to get people out as soon as possible, because people tend to do better at home when they're outside of the hospital. I mean, when you're in the hospital, you're sedentary, for one, so you're not moving around, so you're just sitting there idle. And the body doesn't seem to heal as well or be able to fight infections as well. I mean, you're more prone, for one, to pneumonias. And another thing is there's, a lot of other sick people in the hospital. So you don't know who's going to be next to you in the bed next to you and, what infections or diseases they have. So there is a serious risk of possibly picking up a secondary infection from being in the hospital that you didn't have before you got in there. So definitely the more time we can get people kind of at home, moving around and doing things for themselves, we saw a huge benefit in their overall health. And so
as we look at ways of cutting expenses in the medical care, doing more outpatient procedures such as this saves you guys money. You get more patients in. The treatment time is less people, less cost.
And as far as infections go, the other thing to think about too is, even with some of our modalities that we like and we use, like chemical peels, when you peel off and denude that skin, you're opening it up to a higher risk of infection had you not done that. And so, like, for instance, with cool sculpting, it targets the fat. So it goes through the skin. It doesn't disrupt that barrier, that protective barrier that nature's given us. And with the ultrasound technology also, it doesn't cut through the skin. It goes just right underneath it to the target. So you're not disrupting that outer layer of protection that nature provides us to keep us resistant to infections and problems.
Good point.
That's kind of one of the things that impressed me the most when we were doing this is, as Dr. Young mentioned, it goes through the skin, so there's zero disruption of the skin. We mentioned lasers, surgery, whatnot. You're disrupting the skin in that, which leads to more complications. And with this being ultrasound, it goes underneath the skin, directing the energy, and it's so precise. I mean, talking to them, it delivers energy at 1.5, 3, and 4.5 millimeters. And a millimeter's pretty small, but to get it at that precise location, and as we mentioned earlier, we can actually see it delivering that energy to these spots. And I remember in medical school, learning about anatomy of the face and just basically the skin. I mean, you have the skin. A lot of people are unaware of this, but underneath you have the fat and the muscle, but in between these you have layers of fascia. And they compared this to, it's almost like saran wrap. And, if you take saran wrap and apply heat to it, the first thing you notice is that it kind of shrinks and contracts.
Yeah.
And that's kind of what their theory is behind this technology. So not only are we applying heat to just underneath the skin where it's not disrupting it, so it causes the skin to kind of contract, we're also applying it, between the muscle and the fat, deeper down, to get a more, long-lasting and quality effect. And, the body's natural tendency after it has an injury like this, the heat applied, is to come in, remodel, and it contracts that even further. So not only do we see benefits right after the procedure, but months down the road, up to a year, you'll still see more contracting and added benefit down the road.
It's just amazing to see these technological advances, and it's just incredible. Like Dr. John, and I'm sure the rest of us here, I love technology. And it's nice to see technology actually help people, continue to help people like it is doing here.
Yeah. It goes beyond skin and dermatology, like you said, and in the hospitals. There's a movement away toward getting people out, keeping them healthier, and even with like hearts, they don't do the same number of bypasses. They'll tend to stent things and do things in a cheaper way, which are safer and get people more time. So the technology is just amazing. When you think about if you got sick 100 years ago, you were really in trouble. Nowadays, they can just image you with a CT scanner and an MRI and do all these different things without really having to practice voodoo medicine.
Yeah, I have friends that have had heart attacks. They go in, you hear about them, and the next day you see them at work, and they had a heart attack. They have a stent in, and they're at work the next day.
Yeah, like Mike Dick, you can go back out and have a steak dinner and eat some sausage right after that. So.
Cardiologists might not like that.
That's right.
Hey, we'll be back with Skin Talk here in just a moment. We're talking to Dr. John Young, Dr. Corey Mon, and Dr. Brandon Marcus with Silver Falls Dermatology. This is Skin Talk, and we'll be right back.
The Osgood File, sponsored in part by Cassidy Turley, where excellence starts with market knowledge and ends with client success. Discover excellence in commercial real estate. Discover Cassidy Turley. This is Charles Osgood. Some new guidelines from the Infectious Disease Society of America recommend against removing a child's tonsils just because they suffer from recurring throat infections. In most cases, it's not worth the risk of surgery, they say. And they want doctors to stop prescribing antibiotics for sore throats, as 70% of them now do. Because number one, most sore throats are virus infections and antibiotics only work on bacteria. And number two, it means that the antibiotic may not work as well in the future if you do come down with a bacterial infection. More after this. In this moment, who has your back? Do you know the name of your insurance agent? Does your agent know your name? Or would you call a 1-800 number that connects you with who? Another state? Another country? Get a local, independent insurance agent with auto owner's insurance. Someone you can call when bad stuff happens to your car, home, or business. In this moment, get an agent who will protect you in that moment. Auto owner's insurance. No problem, people.
In Martinsville, call BB&T Insurance Services of Martinsville at 276-666-3600.
If you've ever had water trapped in your ears after swimming or bathing, you know how painful and uncomfortable that can be. Instead of messy drops with damaging alcohol, try Clear Ears, the revolutionary product that dries and relieves. Clear Ears is a soft, comfortable earplug that actually draws water from the ears. And it works fast, usually within 5 or 10 minutes. It's convenient to use, safe for kids and adults. Clear Ears, available at CVS, Walgreens, Duane Reade, and other fine stores. Go to clearears.com for more information. Here's what happens, says our CBS News colleague Teresa Garcia.
10-year-old Sarah Garcia is not feeling well.
My mom brought me because I had a sore throat.
And Dr. Stephanie Shaps asks her,
any pain when you're swallowing?
There's a reason why she asked that question. It's part of a rapid test for strep.
Less than a third are actually due to strep. So you want to really make sure that it is strep when you prescribe antibiotics, because antibiotics won't work against the viruses.
Strep is likely if the pain comes on suddenly, it hurts to swallow, and a person is running a fever.
Sarah's rapid test being negative, no antibiotic for her.
Doctors suggest over-the-counter pain relievers like acetaminophen and ibuprofen, warm fluids like tea with honey, throat lozenges, and plenty of rest.
Dr. Shaps is also sending out Sarah's cultures to a lab for additional testing just to make sure it isn't strep. To save that step, a lot of doctors have been giving the antibiotic on the spot. These guidelines say don't do that. The Osgood File. Transcripts, podcasts, and MP3s of these programs can be found at theosgoodfile.com. I'm Charles Osgood on the CBS Radio Network.
Did your cooling bills go through the roof this summer? Then it's time to take action before your heating bills do the same. Economy Supply Building Center can help you stop wasting energy today and start saving money. Simply call 541-258-7107 and ask about Atticap, the expanding blown-in pink fiberglass insulation from Owens Corning. You could save up to 20% on your home's energy costs and increase the comfort of your home year-round. Get Atticap insulation at Economy Supply Building Center, where Highway 34 becomes Tangent Street in Lebanon.
Every so often, the stars are in perfect alignment. And during the Lincoln Certified Pre-Owned Autumn Sales Event, now is that perfect moment. For a limited time, get 0.9% APR on the certified pre-owned Lincoln of your choice, which also comes with the confidence of our 6-year, 100,000-mile comprehensive warranty. The Lincoln Certified Pre-Owned Autumn Sales Event, exclusively at your Lincoln dealer. APR varies by term. Not all buyers will qualify for Lincoln Automotive Financial Services limited term financing. Take delivery from dealer stock by 10/1/12. See dealer for qualifications, limited warranty, and complete details.
In the nation, trees fall, traffic lights fail, ceilings come down, and brakes lock up. And when the you-know-what hits the fan, Nationwide Insurance hits the ground running. Because you're not just our first priority, you're our only priority. We put members first because we don't have shareholders. Call 1-877-NATIONWIDE today.
Nationwide is on your side.
Nationwide Mutual Insurance Company and Affiliates, Columbus, Ohio, subject to underwriting guidelines, review, and approval.
Valley Talk, weekday mornings on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
This is Skin Talk. I'm Dave Adams. Glad to have you with us. And we have a new guest in the studio today. Dr. John Young is here, Dr. Corey Mon, and Dr. Brandon Marcus is here. And Mrs. John Young is here. What's your name?
Kaylin.
Kaylin. Go ahead and push that microphone a little bit closer to you.
Okay.
And understand that you had the Ultherapy procedure done.
I did.
And we've got a video camera running so people after the show can go to our website and see your beautiful smiling face.
Oh,
so
okay.
where did they do the Ultherapy at? Under your chin?
They did underneath my chin and my neck, and actually all my forehead and
your whole face was treated.
Yeah.
Your whole face.
And I immediately noticed in my neck.
What did you notice?
It was just tighter. You know, I couldn't see in the mirror, but I could feel that it was just so much tighter, and that's a hard area for women to lose and firm up.
Right here under the neck where you get kind of sagging and...
Yeah. So, but around the eyes too, you know, and she actually said, do you want me to do your mouth? And, you know, the upper lip up here. And I'm like, yeah, that's fine. And I immediately noticed that too.
Okay.
So.
How long ago did they do the treatment?
Oh, when did it was like
5 days.
Yeah, 5 days ago.
5 days ago?
Yeah.
So when they initially did the treatment, was there any pain involved when they were doing the treatment? A little bit?
Maybe a little. It felt like just like little prickles, you know, going down in the skin. And it was so easy. And a lot of my friends and my mom's friends, they do not want surgery.
Yeah.
So this would be perfect for them.
Would you recommend it?
Absolutely. Oh, yeah.
You like the results?
Immediate results, too.
I don't think we've met before, so I haven't seen the before, but you look, you know, you never want, one of the cardinal rules is you never want to guess a woman's age. But,
no, I'm 41.
Really?
Mm-hmm.
As people can judge from the video, I would say you're probably in your 30s.
Yeah, well, thank you. I love that.
Yeah, because it's definitely tightened things up, and I of course I haven't seen the before, but seeing the after. So what they did was they tightened up above the eyebrows.
Yes, and they also did right below the cheeks to give me more definition of the cheekbones, and I noticed immediately after I saw myself in the mirror that I had more definition. So
what are your family members saying? Like your mom?
Yes.
What did she say?
Oh, she said, now, what is this procedure called? And I told her, and she said, well, I may have to make an appointment with Dr. John Young. So I said, yeah, spread the word.
Yeah, you don't look like, you look a lot younger than 40. So I would say upper 30s or so, like 32, 31, 34, somewhere around there. I wouldn't definitely say 40. It's definitely helped. And as you can see, we've got a real tight close-up on the camera here. Hope that's okay.
That's okay, yeah.
And folks will be able to see it on our website when we post the video. Dr. John?
The interesting thing about it is, and what we're excited about, is you get continued tightening, so we can't wait to see what she's going to look like in 3 months and 6 months. Because, just from that one treatment last week, we see a lot now, but if you look at the website for Ulthera, I think it's Ulthera. If you look at their website and look at the before and afters, people look pretty good a few months later, and then they look even better the further out you go, which is kind of a really neat thing, that if you can appreciate a benefit day one, then you look even better 6 months later. It's kind of like the opposite of what we'd expect aging to be like. So it's pretty exciting. The other thing, like Kaylin was talking about, is it gave her lip a lift too. And so most women, an attractive look on a woman is to upturn the lip a little bit. So an extreme example of this is Angelina Jolie, whose lips are very full and upturned. And so in men, it's not as important of a cosmetic feature to give an upturned lip, but we often try to recreate this by injecting it with collagen type of things like Restylane or Juvederm. They're not technically collagen, but they're substances that fill the skin. And the neat thing about this is they actually did a similar thing to her with just the ultrasound treatment. And I hadn't even realized that was possible until I saw it happen right before me. It was a pretty interesting thing. And again, these subtle cues, especially with women's faces, our brains are programmed to recognize certain things without really knowing what we're looking at, So pre-programmed from eons ago is this look to a woman's lip that's considered more attractive in the backs of our brains where we process information. And so it was pretty neat to see that subtle change make a big difference for her.
We've talked about this before on the show, and as a dermatologist, this has got to be very exciting for you to help someone actually improve somebody's appearance, and that can have so much to do with their self-esteem and their productivity at work and just the whole ego structure, as the psychologists say.
Yeah, I think one of the most rewarding things about what we do is we can do everything from cosmetically helping people to helping skin cancer and melanoma and finding things that would be potentially life-threatening. And melanoma is the extreme example of that, but we also find other types of rare skin cancers that can kill people. And so it's nice to be able to do it on both ends, so we can give people a pick-me-up from mild to moderate to even a pretty extreme pick-me-up with just an hour treatment, or we can do things like catching skin cancer, or if anyone's ever had an itchy rash, we can often snuff that out, or at least give a good amount of relief to that. And so it's rewarding. And the other thing that's nice is you get to see what you're treating. So we see the skin lesion, we see the skin looseness, we see it tighten up, we see people looking better, feeling better, and we don't have to worry about doing a lot of invasive testing to figure out if what we're doing is working, because the proof is in the pudding.
We need to take another short break. We'll be right back here with Skin Talk on KGAL in just a moment.
Going out to lunch at a nice restaurant can be expensive, and the big portions put you more in the mood for a nap than a productive afternoon. Mama's Fine Italian to the rescue. The small appetite senior menu is just right. Anyone and everyone is invited to order from the Light Appetites menu for lunch from 11 to 4 p.m. with tasty entrees beginning at only $3.95. Why go hungry or go anywhere else for lunch? Eat healthy, eat light at Mama's. Closed Sunday and Monday, so make the most of Tuesday through Friday and join your friends at Mama's for lunch. Dinner only on Saturday. Mama's features charbroiled steaks every day. Make reservations for dinner or pick up a bottle of fine wine. Seating is limited, so please call for reservations. 541-451-5050. That's 451-5050. Mama's Fine Italian and Wine Shop on West Oak between Main and 2nd in Lebanon, across from the Big Blue Napa Auto Parts building.
When you look out across Willamette Valley, you'll see plenty of banking choices. But we're here to give you an option that's pretty unique, like no other in fact. Hi, I'm Dave Wood, President and CEO of Willamette Community Bank. We provide an alternative to large national regional banks by offering customized financial services and local decision-making to benefit local people, local families, and local businesses. How many banks can say that? Willamette Community Bank, service like no other, we promise. Member FDIC.
Oh, there it goes. Hey,
Hey, stop that pumpkin! Get ready to lace your sneakers and run away with the best of them. It's the second annual Runaway Pumpkin Half Marathon. On Saturday, October 27th, runners from all over the state will gather at Cheetah Lake Park in Lebanon for the start of this 13.1-mile track to benefit the ABC House. 100% of the proceeds will go directly to the ABC House to help serve abused children in the Mid-Willamette Valley area. Walkers are welcome and have more than 4 hours to complete this beautiful country course. All participants receive an awesome tech shirt, cool finishers medal, a backpack full of goodies, great food, and a chance to win prizes. First place male and female finishers get a $250 gift card to Lowe's. Come in costume and join the fun. If you cannot attend, sign up to be a virtual runner or volunteer. Registration is going on now. Visit runawaypumpkinhalf.org to register and learn more. Do it early and save. This event sponsored by United Healthcare, Lowe's Regional Distribution Center, and this radio station.
If you've always wondered what that special treasure or antique was worth, the first annual Antique Appraisal Clinic comes to Lebanon Saturday, September 29th.
This is Gary Germer. Please join me as we appraise Lebanon's treasures Saturday, September 29th.
Gary Germer here to evaluate your collectibles from 9 a.m. to noon at Central Willamette Community Credit Union, 625 North 5th Street. Cost is $5 for 2 items. Central Willamette Insurance Agency will provide light refreshments. Bring your special collectibles to the Antique Appraisal Clinic September 29th from 9 to noon.
Hear the truth and only the truth from your cultural crusader, Michael Medved, on News Talk 1580 KGAL.
KGAL on Valley Talk, and Dr. John Young with us, Dr. Corey Mon, Dr. Brandon Marcus, and Dr. John Young's wife here, Kaylin, is here, and we're going to have, actually, we're filming video so you can see how beautiful she looks and about the Ultherapy. Now, for people that want to contact Silver Falls Dermatology, we have a couple of minutes left in the show. How do we find out and book for this procedure?
Yeah, for any more information about the things that we've discussed today, you can contact us. Our toll-free number for Silver Falls Dermatology is 866-599-DERM. Our local number here in Albany is 541-967-8385. You can also find us on the internet at silverfallsderm.net.
Kaylin, look at the camera and smile, because people after the show can go to YouTube and just see Ultherapy. It seems to work very, very well. Mm-hmm. Again, your comments, you'd recommend it for people?
Definitely. Highly recommend it. Especially if you don't want to have surgery. This is the thing for you then.
Kind of nice to be married to a dermatologist, isn't it?
It is, yeah.
Fringe benefits.
Yeah.
Dr. Corey Mon, one of the things we mentioned before on the show is it's got to make you feel good to help people. I mean, to make them feel better about themselves, to go out of your doctor's office with a smile on their face and say, hey, I like the way I look.
Yes. Often you're asked, why did you decide to do dermatology as opposed to one of the many other specialties? And I think it's evident in your patients when they come back in and they've noticed that they have improved their complexion, or if they had severe acne that's now improving. That's something that they see every single day. They look in a mirror and they see their skin. And sometimes it's hard if you have high blood pressure and now it's under control. You may not have even noticed much of a difference, but the skin is different, and we see in a lot of our treatments that people notice the improvements, and they're always happy, and that's very rewarding in the field of dermatology.
Dr. Brandon Marcus, your thoughts as we close out the show?
Yeah, again, this is kind of a two-way street. I mean, it's nice to see patients come in to treat them and to help them find skin cancers, to potentially cure that cancer. But, as we've mentioned in previous shows, it's also on the patient's kind of ownership to come in and see us, because if patients aren't coming in to be evaluated, then there's not a whole lot we can do. So definitely I would advise at least an annual skin check, because your skin changes so much that, we usually only say we give a year warranty on it. To screen for cancer.
Okay. We have about 20 seconds left in the show. Silver Falls Dermatology, how do we get in touch with you?
So again, the number toll-free is 866-599-DERM. The local number here in Albany is 541-967-8385, and we're in the old library building here at 1390 Waverly Drive.
Right next to the KGAL studios. Kaylin, thank you very much for coming in. Usually when you come into a radio station, you're not expecting your picture to be broadcast on the internet. So thank you for being such a good player with all this and showing people just how this can benefit them. Dr. John, Dr. Corey, Dr. Brandon, thanks for being with us on Skin Talk.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you.
This is KGAL. You have a good day, and we'll catch you tomorrow with From the sidelines, Radio Ray.
Your first choice in local news, sports, and smart talk. This is News Talk 1580 KGAL, Lebanon, Albany, Corvallis.
CBS News. I'm Harley Carnes. Chants of death to America echoed in Yemen today, in Egypt, and in Bangladesh. Protesters also in Iraq, in Iran, and in Gaza, all over